This is the Chronicles Podcast. This is the Chronicles Podcast, where we inspire, nurture, and amplify kingdom voices in the media. Hey everyone, welcome back to the 5th episode of the Chronicles Podcast, where we inspire, equip, and broadcast hope in this digital age. I remain Debbie, your host. We say Happy New Month to everyone. We sincerely apologize for not coming your way all through the month of May. Well, I had to explore the NYC orientation camp, which was not bad. Well, at first it was really boring, but yes, it was fun at the end. So we sincerely apologize about that. If you are new here, we say welcome. We welcome you to an enriching and life-changing movement. To our listeners, thank you very much for staying with us. I am really excited to kick off this brand new series with you. Media, a double-edged sword in God's hands. Interesting. Today's episode is special because we are laying the foundation. We are asking the big overlooked question, what is media? I'm very sure you're also thinking that, well, everybody knows what media is, everybody knows. But I promise you, we are going beyond just social media apps or TV screens. So, you might want to grab a notebook, settle in, let's unravel this together. Let's start here. The word media comes from the Latin word medium, which simply means middle or in between. Did you know that? Think about it. Media is anything that stands between a sender and a receiver to carry a message. In mass communication, that includes books, newspapers, radio, television, social media, podcasts. Yeah, you guessed right, exactly like this one. In telecommunication, it is cables, signals, fiber optics. Well, you might be wondering, how do I know all these things? Seeing that I am not a mass communicator, neither into telecommunication, I had to do adequate studies. Remember in one of our episodes, we mentioned that we are not going to be saying anything that is not scripturally backed or that is not true. But here is what blew my mind. You and I are media too. In Genesis chapter 1 verse 27, it tells us that God created mankind in his own image. We were made as his vessels, his living carriers. We are the medium through which God communicates his love, his hope, his truth to the world. Interesting, right? Now let me take you into the scripture for a moment. The book of Psalms 19 verse 1 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands." That means creation itself is a kind of media. The stars, the oceans, the mountains are constantly broadcasting who God is. Let's think about Moses receiving the 10 commandments, the stone tablets, or the prophets who spoke and wrote God's messages. That exactly is media. And of course, the most powerful media of all, the Word made flesh, which is Jesus Christ. And that can be seen in the book of John chapter 1 verse 14. Jesus is God's perfect communication to humanity. His ultimate message delivered face to face. Now, here is where it gets interesting. Philosopher Marshall McLuhan once said, "The medium is the message." That is deep. In other words, the way we communicate shapes the meaning of what we are communicating. Let's say, when you hug someone, the hug itself delivers more than the word, "I love you." Or, when you send a handwritten note instead of a text, the paper, the handwriting, the effort, they all add meaning. I can actually relate to this. And here is the kicker. Your life is media. Paul writes in 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 2 to 3. You yourselves are our letter, written on our hearts, known and read by everyone. Guys, you are a living, breathing message. Your actions, your words, your presence, they all communicate something. I actually saw a reels on Instagram. I saw a reel and it was about, a leader of a community, a Christian community to be precise. And, she was ministering in front of a whole lot of people and she was wearing a bomb shirt. I know some of us might be like, well, it doesn't really matter, it is the heart. But seriously, whatever we do, we are communicating something. So it means that we are saying that God that is particular about holiness, we can just worship in nudity. And that's like, I don't know. But really, whatever we do, it is communicating something. Now, let's zoom out for a second. In the media industry, whether it is journalism, advertising, or telecom, there are laws and there are responsibilities. You can't just publish anything. There are ethical standards, privacy laws, intellectual property rules. You ask why? Well, because media has power. Media is a very, very powerful tool. It shapes opinions, behaviors, and even the entire society. Spiritually, the same applies. Jesus said in the book of Matthew chapter 12 verse 36, everyone will give account on the day of judgment for every empty word they have spoken. Kai, that is deep. That is media accountability law. Well, if I've ever heard of one. John Maxwell, a leadership expert, says, everyone communicates, but few connect. That's the challenge for us. Are we just making noise or are we truly communicating in meaningful, God-honoring ways? So today, we have laid the foundation for this series. First, we said media is anything that carries a message between a sender and a receiver. Second, God has always used media from creation to scripture to Jesus himself. Third, you are media. Your life is a message. You really should not forget this one. And lastly, with media comes responsibility. I remember speaking, I think I was in a discussion with one of my brothers and we were talking about how people actually look up to us. Let's take, for instance, a purity advocate, a person that is known for purity. Even your post, like everyone knows that you are an advocate for purity. And then you just wake up one day and then you just post something that maybe like premarital sex is not bad, it's normal. It's just a way for you to know if whoever you're with is is sexually whatever. But you have followers and you are responsible for these people. Well, that is one thing most of our influencers do not know. You have people looking up to you, right? And you are responsible for these people. Imagine posting something like that premarital sex is not wrong. Definitely your followers will look like, well, if this person that is a purity advocate, so to say, can come out and say that, well, premarital sex is not wrong. So it means that you are legalizing it. So we need to understand that with media comes responsibility. The responsibility to connect, to uplift, to honor God. This month, we'll break down the acronym MEDIA, which is message, engagement, discernment, influence, and accountability. But today, here is what I want you to think about. What kind of message is your life broadcasting? What media are you consuming? And what media are you creating? And how can we, as individuals and as a church, reclaim media as a force for God's kingdom? Thank you for spending this time with me on the Chronicles Podcast. Next Sunday, we are diving into message and engagement. I tell you, you really don't want to miss this one. And also, drum rolls. I'm so excited about this one. The Chronicles Media Conference is coming up Guys, I'm so excited about it. And it is coming up on the 26th of July 2025. I tell you, you really don't want to miss this one. Like, it is going to be power-packed and impactful. Really, you don't want to miss it. Well, the link for registration will be up in our next podcast, so you'll be able to register. Please, when the link is posted, make haste to register. Until then, remember, you are God's living letter. Carry his message with purpose, with hope, and with love. This is Debbie signing off. Stay inspired, stay faithful, and keep broadcasting hope. Bye.
This is the Chronicles Podcast, where we inspire, nurture, and amplify kingdom voices in the media.